Buildings, Property, and Cemetery Committee meeting is now open. Apologize for being a couple of minutes late, but we just finished up another meeting. So,
I will follow the agenda.
okay,
And no need to move anybody up. I don't think it's gonna take too terribly long. This is more, again, informational for you guys, being new and what's going on
Okay.
and all that sort of thing. We wanted to make sure you had a feel for where we're at and what we're doing. Roofing projects. There is a roofing project ongoing right now, and it is the replacement of the slate roof at the library.
Okay.
If you drive by there, you'll see a lift. And I was shocked. They are scraping those shingles off. I thought those things were worth $1 million, and they're throwing them away. Because when they take them off, they're breaking a lot of them. So, but that new roof will be on. I don't have an exact date, and Jennifer and I have talked, but I think probably next week it'll be finished.
okay.
Okay?
Well, what is the new roof composed of? I don't even remember now.
The metal, that standing seam metal. And
We're
I'll
not doing
match the
we're not
colors.
doing slate.
We're not putting slate back now. Okay. That project also had another component, which was we had a leak at the medical center, and it appears that that leak has been fixed. Okay, so the contractors came and worked on that one. You can see some moldy spots up in the ceiling, and so we need to go in, now that we're pretty sure that the leak was fixed, we're gonna go back in there with paint and new ceiling tiles and all that sort of thing. Upcoming roofing projects. Ugh, this is the part that hurts. In this coming budget, if we can afford it, I want to put in 2 capital projects, probably the 2 biggest capital projects other than the Armory. And one will be either sealing or replacing the roof of the fire station. They've got a lot of leaks in that thing. We called this same roofer to go over there and look at it. It's 20 years old, and he said, man, there are like 5,000 screws in this thing. There's no telling where this water could be coming from. He gave us a price for sealing the roof, and I don't know that much about sealing. Apparently it's a spray-on product that you can put on there at $115,000. Replace the roof, $300,000.
I find it hard to believe, I'm sorry.
We've got to get it out. We've
Yeah,
got plenty of work to do, but when we do the budget, I'll probably find a happy medium if I can put it in there and get it in. Okay. The second roof that I would like to address relatively soon is the roof at the tavern, the Schwartz Tavern. And that is an old cedar-shaped roof, and when you cut the grass out there, you find a shingle pretty often laying out there in the yard. My concerns with the roof there are not getting it done because I can find a roofer to do it. My concerns are, how do we have to interface with historic resources and those folks? So what I may do is the architects that are working on the Armory, I think they have a lot of expertise in that, and get them to advise how we do it. There was a leak on the side of the building that was facing the Carriage Museum. We repaired the leak. It was actually rotten siding, and so we got that repaired, but there's some water damage on the inside. It looks to me like it's just sheetrock, but I don't want to take the risk of just throwing some sheetrock up there and finding out we're violated whatever principle. So Brian Green with Commonwealth Architects, I'm going to get him to go in there and advise how to do this to meet those standards. And I look at the DBI director, and I think he's got some background with historic resources. Those are the roofing projects. Those are probably your biggest capital projects that I'm going to propose, other than the Armory this coming year. Okay.
That's some big projects, though.
Yeah, they're big,
Huge
they're
projects.
not small. Sea Park. Sea Park, I know Jenny has done some work over there, but we've got a lot of flower beds in Sea Park, especially around the library. And I would like to either eliminate or change some of the plantings in there. They've gotten really big, and the boxwoods are really big, and there's a flower bed or a landscape area on the parking lot side, and I'd like to go in there and try to find some way to do some landscaping, pavers or something like that, and it'll be a lot less maintenance on the project. But certainly the side of the building of the library that faces the gazebo, there's just too much stuff over there, okay? And I'm gonna ask if it's okay, maybe I go with Eric, who does landscaping and such things, anybody else wants to join us? And go over there and come up with some ideas to reduce the size of the flower beds specifically around the library. Okay. And
Well, I mean, and just because we're say reduce the size, I mean, I like your idea of adding some low to no maintenance features as well. If we have to do
Okay.
hardscapes or some stamped concrete or something somewhere to, our park, it doesn't have much to offer.
mhm.
So it'd be nice to have something there.
The
But I
boxwoods
do-
are
I
just
mean-
really big and they're blocking the windows now, and they're English boxwoods, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know how well they handle being trimmed, and there's a range tree. That thing is probably 20, 30 feet tall now, and, I would like to go through it with you and take a look at what can be removed, what should be replaced, what kind of hardscapes, low maintenance kind of stuff, but the flower bed around the library.
Who, originally landscaped it? I mean, who chose the plants?
Who chose them?
Probably whoever owned the house prior to it being
Okay,
given to the town.
okay,
I think that house and Sea Park were donated to the town.
okay,
As long as that building is used for public use,
Okay.
the town has access to it, and along with Sea Park. God, predates me, it's probably in the
okay, so
early
the,
mid-80s, I don't know if you guys remember.
okay, so the town never really landscaped it or anything,
I
we
think those
just.
boxwoods were there when the town got the stuff.
I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah.
let's come to the mic.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
I don't
introduce
think I've
yourself, cause I
spoken
don't
since
know
you guys have
anybody.
been here. I'm Jenny Bunn.
Okay.
I've done a lot of volunteering in the park and
Okay,
advocate for beautification in town, and I used to be the Sea Park chairperson. So English boxwoods are treasured, and it takes forever for them to grow, like forever. I think to cut those down would be criminal. It would be really sad. So cutting them back or something like that, I would love to see. But at some point, so council, I guess before you guys had said to hire someone to take care of the maintenance in the park. Right? What happened with that?
I don't think council ever voted to do that, but I know.
I know that we did the lawn solutions, I do know that,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
with
With the grass,
spraying.
they fertilize the grass.
He sprays, treats it for weeds, all that stuff.
So no
Which
one,
the town does need to cut a little more often.
They scouted. Yeah, another one was on that thing and they were shouting her down.
so council didn't make the,
Oh, that's a
Jennifer, a question.
You remember them voting to hire somebody? I don't remember.
for you to put it out to bid?
I know that you said last year you were gonna put it out for bid.
Oh, the bed maintenance. No, it hasn't been done. You're not talking about an employee.
No,
Yes,
the maintenance of the
we're gonna put it out to bid.
beds in
That's
the
right.
park.
But what I wanna do is figure out what exactly we're putting out to bid. Are we getting rid of some of this stuff? I agree, the boxwoods are nice, but I don't know how to trim them. If they need to be trimmed down, there's ivy growing down the side of the building. There's flower beds where there's nothing, it's just old mulch. If we could go back and put grass in those areas, especially up in the front and to the right, immediate right side of the building. But I want, like the hardscape, what I was thinking about is on the parking lot side, between the curb and and the handicap ramp. It's just 2 or 3 bushes over there and a pile of weeds. And so I go down there and spray them periodically, but maybe we can do something more attractive.
Well, I mean, I know your stance on,
I hate maintenance.
you do,
I hate it.
and you would get rid of every flower bed in this town if you could.
I put it on the shop and let somebody
That's
water
true.
it, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so I think maybe a happy medium, I don't know what that is, but, you know, having someone under the payment of town, whether it's a subcontractor or an employee, who can take care of these things. I'm also on the tourism committee, and beautification matters when you talk about people coming to town. So, you know, I would hate to get rid of what we do have that's pretty, and I'd like to see us nurture more things. But,
I
no,
wanna
there's
address
a
that, cause it
limit.
doesn't look good.
okay.
I need to
Thank you.
find a happy medium if there is.
So then, so will the bid be to,
Mulch?
well, I mean,
Plant?
to get someone's idea for landscaping or just maintenance? Because what it sounds like is two problems.
Mhm.
One thing, it probably does need to be, we need a plan for landscaping before we even talk
Yeah,
about
it's bad.
maintaining it. And so, I mean, so my question is the bid gonna be for someone to tell us how we can beautify
Well, I hope
it?
and Eric and I can go through there and come
I
back
think
with
we as a
recommendations.
committee should actually meet there on site.
Yeah.
Okay,
The committee, we'll go out there and
A
look at
woman's
it.
view is always better, in my opinion.
There you go, and then come back and say, all right, we're gonna do away with this one, but we're gonna add this. and
Okay.
this is a hard
And I
step.
think we should, and Jenny, I don't, never run this by her yet, but instead of mulch, we wanna do rock. I wanna get rid of.
Stuff like that, more of a hardscape that's gonna be maintenance
Look
free.
like maintenance free, okay.
It's not that it's maintenance free, you still have to do some things.
But you can spray it easily and it doesn't look bad.
And mulch just gets worn real quick.
Yeah.
Now rock's more expensive,
Oh,
it's more costly, but
we put rock all around our house and it's, weeds will still come up and you hit them with a spray and that's about it. You
but
gotta
you
cleaning.
keep the color. I mean mulch, especially when the town gets mulch, we just get it, your basic hardwood that, I mean
Yeah,
it fades, it molds, it
Yeah.
mildews,
it does.
We'll
So-
shoot for getting back together.
Yeah, so then the plan is for us to meet there,
yeah.
basically, one evening and,
Let's not wait a month or so, let's do
But
it
yeah,
fairly quick, I mean.
alright, so I guess Jennifer, you'll send us
Of course
a tentative,
Of course.
a tentative, evening where we can just go out there and kick around some ideas or whatever and,
And if you would like to join us, Miss Bun, that would be fabulous.
It will be a public meeting.
yes ma'am.
I would just like to add that, while I appreciate low maintenance and I understand the beauty of low maintenance and the
Sure.
ease of it,
Pebbles.
flowers are a lot prettier than rocks.
They gotta
And
be
original
maintained.
plantings
Yeah.
around a building are things that just kind of excite people when they see them,
Mhm.
because, like Jenny said, when you see an English boxwood.
Oh, I agree. The boxwoods are probably off limits for sure, but
I would hate
there's some
to
wild
see
stuff there.
just a bunch of mulch
Right.
and a couple mums here and there, and just,
We'll come up with
Eric,
something.
that's your expertise, right?
that library is
I
gorgeous.
mean,
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do have the
We don't need
expertise,
to pay for a service to design something.
Right,
We've got
yeah.
enough people
yeah,
Don't figure
in the
it out.
community that would be willing to do it. The problem is then funding how to do
do it, right, yeah,
it. So,
Okay,
okay,
moving.
yeah, got it.
Next item up to bid is the Harris Memorial Armory. I'm gonna give you a update. where we're at. I have not received, and if you may remember, we wrote a grant application to the Virginia Department of Economic Development, with the Economic Development Partnership, and we received $250,000 to remove the asbestos and the lead-based paint and pull a underground storage tank out at the Armory. I have not gotten a contract on that back from the state, so the email is coming, we're working on it and all that sort of thing, so, that is forthcoming. Hopefully within the next 60 days, maybe we can get started doing something. The second item is, we have an architect, and you guys probably already know this stuff, but I'm giving them a primer for where we're at. The Armory, there was an architect selected through an RFQ process, request for qualification, and it's Commonwealth Architects. I think he was selected because he had the most knowledge of the building, he had worked with the committee, he had worked with other folks. But before we get too far started, what I wanna do is make sure we have who's going in the building and what's it gonna legitimately be used for. And we held off having a public meeting until after Chastity and I met with Virginia State last Friday. We drove to Virginia State and met with their hospitality and nutrition program, I think is what it's called. And they are verbally committed, we gotta get an MOU started and get something in writing, that they would use it almost as a laboratory, so that their students and students that they wanna train, and that's why, part of the reason why Mr. Paul is here tonight, students that can get certification in hospitality, so they can work at these hotels and restaurants that are sure to come.
so when you say a lab, you're talking about a job training center.
John,
Right.
Like a kitchen or,
Not a lab like I'm
Yeah.
used to thinking back.
No.
in college.
Right, yeah, I mean,
No.
so,
well, you'd be surprised, at Virginia State, they've got stations.
Mhm.
You would think it's a science lab, but it's a station where you prepare food, and it's got a screen over it,
How to do it.
and it's on virtual. All right, you break the eggs, you do all those kinds of things. So I don't know if we'll ever be able to afford a culinary kitchen, which is expensive with range hoods and all those kind of things. It may have to be more like a warming kitchen,
Hot
which is
plates and stuff like
a
that.
caterer
College
comes
to
and
pay for it.
sticks the stuff in it. Huh?
Get the college to pay for it.
They'll pay for the soft costs, not,
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be
from what I
paying a whole
understand
lot.
from the Avery, I believe, correct, Janet?
Avery University kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
They have a hospitality program. They're less interested because there's a casino coming to Danville, and they're gonna be associated with the casino down there.
Avery's a lot smaller too, from what I understand, than,
And it kind of fizzled. I think they've got other irons in the fire, and it's close to home, and they're in Danville and all that sort of thing. So we talked to them on the phone, and not so much. So we went to Virginia State, and I do think we've got the potential to have a program there where Virginia State students could come, maybe prepare food, bring it, and when people have a wedding, or if they have something, that can be a catering option. But even more, as they explained to us, they have a front of the house and a back of the house program. Back of the house is cooking and food prep and all that. The front of the house is estimating, scheduling, budgeting, decorating, setting up, all those kinds of things. So we're gonna keep on exploring with that. The only other item that I can specifically tell you that we've had conversations about is I've met with a couple ladies that are Luther Foster alumni. And part of what we would like to do is maybe have an area very similar to what we built at Russell Grove School in Amelia County, which is a Russell Grove Alumni Association suite, I guess. But that building was still standing. Russell Grove was still upright, and we renovated it using DHCD money many years ago, and we reserved maybe a third of this room and put some glass cabinets, and they put their yearbooks and football helmets and stuff in there. Okay? We'd like to take the opportunity to show that this is inclusive and maybe do something like a Luther Foster Alumni Association suite of some sort and put that in our Armory as well. Okay? So hopefully we'll be able to get those two done. I think we're approaching time where we need to go ahead and call like a public meeting. Okay? And it doesn't have to be a council meeting, but I do think it's time for the architect to come in and start hearing. And his contract does say he'll have at least one public charrette where everybody can come in and put boards up, and we want to see this in basketball, or we want to see performing arts, we want to see culinary, and that's going to give him more idea of what his design needs to reflect.
Sooner the better, because prices every day are getting more and more expensive.
God, I'm hoping they're going to go down.
You will not see it.
Yeah, not anytime soon.
20 years from now, you'll see prices go down.
I was
I'd
watching,
see them go down anytime in the near future.
I was watching Fox News this morning. They're like, recession coming, recession coming, recession coming.
But I have a question. So, how many of these memorial rooms?
How many what?
Okay, so you want to reach out to the Luther H. Foster Memorial.
The lady's name is
Foundation or
Shirley Smith, if you know
Right.
Shirley. That's who
what-
I
Right,
met with.
but what if somebody else wants a spot in the Armory?
We just can't.
I mean,
go
so I'm
crazy
saying,
because you obviously have to make the space functional as well.
right. So I'm just saying, I mean, what if we do that, and then somebody else said, well, what about, but, yeah,
It's not unrealistic if somebody come up and say, I got a bunch of Blackstone High School
Once we
rams.
give money away up here, what happens?
but, yeah,
People
but,
come
right,
back.
yeah, I mean, so,
So if,
And
so if Annie Scott and Jennifer Daniel wanna have a room, what is keeping us from doing it?
right, yeah, I mean,
Space is gonna be what,
Would there be a charge for that when they're having that suite?
pardon?
No, I think
It's gonna be free of charge?
if you go out to the officers club,
I don't think so.
I think this Philip is talking more of a condensed version.
No,
At
right.
the officers club, you go out and they've got random pictures of
Divisions that trained in there before
divisions,
World War II.
obviously.
I
out
mean, I
there.
don't have any problem with it, but I'm just looking at the flip side of the coin. I mean, if we,
Or you could have Blackstone High School come up and say they want a room or something.
yeah, I mean, so then,
Well,
How
what
do
we're doing with the Luther Foster
manage that?
portion of it, that was an idea. If you remember, Nottaway County was talking about doing some kind of a museum or something like that.
right,
And we figured, well, if we're gonna renovate a building and we're looking for tenants, maybe we could address it and maybe it would garner us some additional grant money. But I will tell you, grant money is tough right now for that building. Tobacco Commission is not a big sponsor. For the simple fact is, it is not a revenue producing facility. It's not private industry, okay? Many of these grants wanna see somebody private going in there, like the Industrial Revitalization Fund. We received a $600,000 grant for VUMAC. That was because there was performance agreements and he was gonna hire so many people and make X number of dollars of private investment, all that. IRF, we applied for a planning grant through the Industrial Revitalization Fund for technology. How do we get broadband in the building? How do we build computer labs? How do we do that? And we got turned down, believe it or not. I'm not feeling good about IRF, and IRF was the original $600,000 project that we talked about 3 years ago. I'm not feeling it on that one. Tobacco Commission, I don't think is there. I do think we have some opportunities based on what goes in the building,
build it, right.
okay? with DHCD, that we could do some block, it is actually in the East End project area, some of what Mr. Paul is doing.
Go ahead, I'll let you finish, I have a question for
I
you.
think we gotta find some activities that are eligible for grant, and it's not recreation, and it's not hosting the prom.
But I don't want us to do these though, and I hate to say it, this sounds horrible, but I don't wanna do them in hopes that we could get a grant, but then we get nothing out of it. I mean,
You may, yeah. That could be the case. I don't know if there's grant money for a Luther Foster Memorial Center, but I
no,
think we
but
could,
it checks one of those boxes for those big
For-
grants.
it can help,
Right.
it can help. And Mr. Paul is here tonight. He's also John Neal's son, if you didn't know. And he's also here for the marker, but he's with a group called Transition Solutions.
Right.
And he's the brains behind that outfit. And, they're gonna hopefully be able to train folks through this culinary or hospitality program on activities, or for folks that are post-incarceration. And, so we've been working with Mr. Paul. Hopefully that will garner some interest and some attention. But I'll be honest with you, we've been sending grant applications for the Armory back and forth with these agencies for years. Ooh, I haven't gotten a big warm fuzzy, huh?
They're probably tired of seeing it.
I think one of the emails did say, we told you last time this wasn't gonna go on. Why don't you just back?
Janet had a,
Yeah.
Thank you. So when we first began talking about the Armory, I'm one of the founding members of the Armory Board. And when we had part of our vision and part of what was incorporated in some of the architectural renderings that Brian Green was kind enough to do for us, was when you first walk into the Armory, not the entryway where the staircases come up, but when you walk into the drill area, you have those double doors, they open up. We had thought about it would be nice to bring out from the roof line where the balcony is, down maybe 6 feet, 10 feet, and enclose that area and make it like a museum type room where Luther Foster stuff could be displayed, where Nottaway County
And that
stuff could be
Okay.
certainly would be
displayed.
part of the design.
Okay.
We even talked about like the Nottaway Historical Society, maybe having some space in there as well. But, you know, it's long enough, it's a long, long space, and that might be the solution that we're
Right,
looking for.
right.
It's immediately present when you walk through, it's attention, it captures your attention, people are gonna wanna stroll down and see what it is, rather than having it tucked away towards the back of the Armory,
Okay.
where it might not be as visible.
I think these are things that we share with Brian and our public charrette. Now, I think we're at a point now that you guys are a little bit familiar with what we're doing. It's time to have that public meeting. Please do come and hear what everybody has to say, because there's gonna be a million ideas, I'm sure, thrown at Brian, and he's gonna do his best to try to go through them. Okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that in that plan that it wouldn't just be the one entity, because I can see someone saying, hey,
So,
why this and not us? So, we would, and that sounds like a feasible plan, that it would be an area where it's more than one
and I think
area
they,
showcase.
but once the project is completed though,
Right.
they're set.
Right.
It's done at that point though. It's
Yeah.
not we're just gonna keep revamping this.
Right, yeah,
It's
he's
there.
gotta get started designing them,
Yeah.
like, doing the plans. Okay. So within the next couple of weeks, maybe we'll have this public meeting.
Okay.
We'll host it in this space and, maybe put a projector up and try to show different ideas and different things and see if we can do a PowerPoint and get people to comment. I really want this, or I really want this glass front, or whatever it is that needs to happen, and see what can happen with $2 million. Okay?
I wanna say something real quick. Years ago, Virginia Tech was trying to create a partnership with, Nottaway Amelia Vocational Facility for a culinary school. And they were gonna bring all of their equipment so they could teach it. But that relationship fell apart, so we may wanna reach out to Virginia Tech because they have funding and they may be able to supply some of the equipment. Because if you're gonna have a teaching facility, that's what they're truly about. So that's something we might wanna,
Follow up with Virginia Tech, absolutely. No problem.
Because Virginia Tech, believe it or not, sent a lot of their funding to Virginia State.
Really?
Virginia
Those are
Tech's a
land-grant
huge
schools, I guess.
hospitality school. Virginia Tech's a huge hospitality
Yes,
school.
yes, so,
I will tell you this, Virginia Tech, we had their foundation chairman here in Blackstone, and looking at ViewMac to see if they would buy it to put a hotel in it. And they said, no, it's just out of our wheelhouse, it's too far, but maybe something slimmed down, less obtrusive and expensive. But Virginia Tech looked at ViewMac at one point and said it's just more than what they could tangle with. But we do have his phone number and we'll call him back.
Well, if I'm a Clemson fan, could we contact them too and see if they
That's what they need, yeah, we don't just want one.
I know, right? We want everybody.
My nephew almost went to Clemson.
Oh, wow.
He went to Georgia.
If I may, very quickly, there's two other items I want to touch on
Okay.
before. I think Jennifer's going to have somebody on the phone. Maybe a family member, Mr. Neal. Do you have to call somebody?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just point out two things in your packet. These are the most recent renderings of the Armory. These were done by Brian Green within the past 30 days,
Okay.
45 days. And that gives you the footprint. I can get you a digital copy if you need, so you can blow it up, make it a little more easy to read. But that, for you guys, and if you want a copy of these, you're welcome to.
Thank you, Philip.
But that is the existing conditions of the Armory. And he's
Okay.
gone in there and measuring and ciphering and everything. So that's where we're at this point. We did hold Brian up until after we were with the Virginia State, and I think we're really good. So those are for your information, available digitally if you want. The second thing I wanted to point out to you is the last couple pages in your packet. And these sadly are the town's policy about flowers and decoration in our cemetery. And as a 16-year employee of the town of Blackstone, I've probably gotten more complaints about flowers disappearing, flowers being placed at the cemetery than I probably have at a lot of things in a very long time. Very exciting for a lot of folks, but these are the rules about flowers, and it can be summed up very quickly. Don't put it on the ground unless it's in a cement, stone, or metal vase or container. Otherwise, you got a problem if it's on the ground. Put it on the headstone with a saddle on the sides, those kinds of things. But people still do them. They put them out there all the time, and every couple, 3 days I go through there and probably pick up 2 or 3 that are probably not supposed to be there, plus the ones that have blown off, and I put them in the back of the truck. So you may want to, if you get the complaint from somebody, heads up, this is your policy, or the town's policy about flower
Has there been a recent
arrangement.
issue? I mean,
I had a lady, Miss Glancy, called me not too long ago complaining that someone had stolen some flowers, and she said they were secured, and if they had blown out, I may have gotten them, but she said they were there, and there's a marble vase. I certainly didn't take it as a marble vase, but it's telling that there was also a metal flagpole next to it, and when I say a flag, one of those L-shaped ones with the flag draped, and I don't take those are legal, and she said that one was gone too, so somebody may very well have taken it.
it's just one of the, it's sad to say, but it's just one of those risks you take when putting something out there that there's people that will go out there nowadays and steal stuff off of a grave.
I can't say, I know what I can and can't take, but there's a lot of ones that blow off and go over in the woods, and you're like, man, I don't even know whose these are, so
Right.
put them in the truck and ride them around for a few days and then I'll throw them out. Okay. Heads up, it can be controversial, okay, as the cemetery goes. Last year, we did 70 funerals, 70 burials in the cemetery, some of them cremations, but the vast majority regular. This year, we're at about 15 so far, so average year is about 40. So last year was an abnormally high number of funerals that we had in the cemetery. I can't attribute it to COVID or anything else, it was just an anomaly. So you know too, I think we've got the funeral homes where everybody understands what the status is for the burial of cremations. Cremains, a little box or, the town will dig the hole for the family. But before I offer that, I ask them if they're working with a funeral home and if they've already got that arranged, okay? But the town, for $400 to buy the grave and $200 burial permit fee, the town will dig a 2x2 hole, 2 deep, 2 wide, 2 long, in order for somebody to put their cremains in. And 2 cremains can go in each grave space. Technically, you can put 2 vaults in each grave space, but you gotta bury that first one way on. And I haven't seen that done yet. So I've seen a cremation placed on top of a traditional vault, but it's pretty rare because you have to keep a foot of cover on top of whatever cremains container that you've got in there. You maybe leave that one by the phone. May have to- and, last thing, sprinkler systems for the medical center and the fire station. I'm gonna ask if I can go ahead and bid that out for the maintenance of it, the replacing heads and make sure it's winterized and unwinterized. It's just one less thing that Andre has to keep up with. And I think we're okay right now, but we're gonna get into heavier watering season. I'd like to have somebody to do that and have a Toro or Steamy Lytle or somebody like that. Okay. So it's my intention to try to seek some bids on that. And I think the Dorns may do that kind of work too.
They do.
So,
And it's due, those systems have just been patched by the town since they were put in, and nothing against the town, but
every
they
year,
probably need some overhaul.
lawnmowers hit the sprinkler heads, things like that just need to be replaced and maintained, make sure it's not leaking. Okay. That's all I got.
Alright, so in your packet is also, the items that your family members have sent over about memorials and stuff. And I think the, kiosks and stuff were more for if the armory is open up for that, so I think tonight was like for plaques
Yeah, that's
and for
fine.
benches, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I am calling Tammy Carter and Kim Neal.
Yes.
Okay, so if you will give me a minute, let me see if I know how to
Pressure's
do
on.
this phone here.
That's all. Make it work.
Alright, so,
Anybody want water?
I'd like to have one, please.
Nope, all good. Eric, you need water? You good? Jennifer, you want one?
I'm good, thank you.
Hello.
Miss Carter?
Yes, it is.
Hey, this is Jennifer with the town of Blackstone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? I have you on speaker and we are in the council chambers and we are also live and on video, so let's watch our language. I'm just kidding. Alright, so I'm trying to do the conference call here, so give me just a second. I'm trying to follow the instructions here and let's see if this works, okay? I'm also gonna call Ms. Neal now, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, conference. And 1202.
Hello, Jim.
Hi, Miss Neal. This is Jennifer with the town of Blackstone. How are you?
All right, how are you, Jennifer?
I'm doing well, thank you. I just wanted to let you know that I've got you on speaker, and we are in the council chambers, and I'm going to try and we've got Miss Carter on the phone also. I'm going to hit conference, and hopefully both of y'all will be on the line. Okay?
Okay. all
Thank
right,
you.
sounds good.
All right. So press the conference button again. Okay, Miss Carter,
Yes,
Miss Neal.
yes, ma'am.
All right. Perfect. Here we go.
With $30,000 worth of COVID, doesn't work.
All right.
Got a lot, you have to love technology.
Yes, it's too smart for me most of the time. Okay, I'm turning the volume up here. So, Philip, do you want to? I don't know who wants to start here. Do you want to start?
Hey, Kim, you wanna start off? Kim, come over here.
Sure, I could start off. So does the committee have what we submitted?
Yes, I gave them the slideshow. I printed that off, so they
Yes.
have that with them.
Okay, great. So, I mean, not the slideshow, but what I wrote up as a justification for the memorial, that was in the email, actually.
I may not have printed that.
Okay. All right, so I can, let me read it then, but yeah, it wasn't an attachment, it was actually in the email, it was, entitled justification.
Okay.
Can we go again?
Do you,
I think I got
okay.
it. Y'all carry on. I think I've got that email.
Do you have it in front of you? You want to read to us so we can?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Great.
I can read it.
Okay.
I can read it.
Okay.
So, and so John, Samuel Neal, he was my grandfather, paternal grandfather. My father, Dexter Neal, was his son. And so he was born 1918 and died in 2006. He was a proud Blackstone, Virginia native who, despite the challenges of racial segregation and discriminatory treatment, pushed on to understand that while he was biracial, he had to take the lead in assisting people of color excel in the community. He focused a major part of his life in the 1980s ensuring that people of color had equal voting access and power in the electoral process for Blackstone and Nottoway County, Virginia. John was one of the signers of Blackstone's Declaration of Independence in the late 1980s, that moved Blackstone's government from a limited exclusionary system to one that was inclusive of all residents. He risked his family's life, of which both Tammy and Eric were witnesses of, and received ongoing death threats when he led the charge and became the first named defendant in 2 federal court cases in 1987 and 1988 to have the electoral districts redrawn and gain equal access to the voting polls. The U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia determined that Blackstone and Nottoway County elections were racially polarized to a substantial degree and violated the Federal Voting Rights Act. The court further concluded that there was the existence of racial bloc voting, which not only impacted local elections, but also impacted the outcomes of the prior state elections for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, of which that was Governor Wilder, which I worked for personally as his senior policy advisor. It was these efforts that led to the integration of the town council as well as the county board of supervisors. John was ultimately elected and served as Ward 8 council member from 1988 to 2002, leading the way for 2 additional persons of color to serve as council members for Wards D and E. Every law he sponsored and supported during his tenure represented his tireless dedication to Blackstone, its sustainable future, and the equal treatment of all residents. As a result, John was the recipient of the Nottoway County NAACP Exemplary Citizenship Award upon his retirement as a council member, of which he was nominated by Mrs. Constance Wynn. During most turbulent political times, when he was accused of overstepping his boundaries, he said to a then young Courier Record feature writer, which is Mr. Connolly, at that time, "I am larger than those who try to define me say I am." And so for this justification alone, we're asking the committee to support acknowledging our family member, John Sam Neal, with a marker, with a bench that is marked, as well as the memorial plaque in front of council chambers. And I know that there's been some discussion about other folks that should be recognized, and we don't disagree with that. But we do want the council to understand and the committee to understand that it was John Neal, which we fondly refer to as that. It was John Neal who led the way. It was John Neal, and if Mrs. Wynn was alive to this day, and she honored him tremendously and spoke at his funeral, she would say to you that if it wasn't for him, she would have not been in the position that she was in. And so while we don't disagree that other folks should be honored, we definitely think he should be honored with this recognition initially because of the tremendous courage he showed in pushing voting rights forward for people of color in the town of Blackstone as well as in Nottoway County.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful read, and hopefully it's going to show up on the video as well, so the public that does look at the video will get to hear it as well. Thank you for reading that. Thank you for reading that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't print all the pictures, I assume we can get those and
We've
just
got-
print those.
we've got-
We have the pictures.
The pictures are in the packet.
Our clerk just
So
needs
the
Thank you.
pictures represent, so when we initially approached Billy, Mayor Colburn about the marker, we talked about a bench in front of the council chambers. And, so Tammy was gracious enough to present some examples of a bench. We also talked about potentially a plaque within council chambers. And then the other PowerPoint, which I'm sure Tammy will talk about, is supplemental to this request, and that we're trying to get him recognized initially, and then if the town is moving forward with the museum, then we feel like a kiosk could be put in that museum that could not only recognize him, but could recognize the other individuals that I know that the committee and the council has expressed that they want to recognize as well. But for the bench and the plaque, we would like John Neal recognized personally for that.
We had discussed, in the past, just recently, more about renovating this building. But we put that on hold, number one, due to cost, but also because Chambers very likely could be moved
To the Armory.
to the Armory, which I think is a very good idea, so that we can accommodate people in a better space. So plaque-wise, I would like, I think a bench, yes, absolutely, it's in front of Town Hall, but I don't want a plaque get stuck in here,
And
and then we vacate and nobody's here. I don't want it to get lost.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Makes sense.
Obviously, a bench out front, it's the most visited building that the town owns, and so I think that's a no-brainer, so.
Ladies, can y'all hear Mr. Nash talking?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Tammy, can you hear?
I can hear him, the last part I did not catch about the bench.
I think that he said that it was a no-brainer to have the bench out front. He was just a little concerned about the plaque. If Council Chambers is relocated and we no longer meet in here, he might prefer to hold off on that until they decide where the Armory is, where the chambers are gonna be.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like to
Is
add?
there anybody on the committee that had questions for us? I didn't know if Eric Paul was at all.
Yeah.
He's at the microphone now.
Yeah, I'm here, Kim. I don't have a lot to add. What you said was totally the truth. We grew up here. We saw his struggles. Back then, the town was a little bit different. You know, we've grown tremendously over those times. But we're here to support him and the work he did within the community, and he did a lot of work in the community. If Constance Nguyen was still here today, she'll be able to, she would definitely support him. But we're just here to make sure that you guys know about him. You don't know him, and you may know him.
Love him.
This is what he looked like. So sometimes we're talking about people, but we don't know who we're talking about. So I wanted people to get an idea of and he was a leader in the community, so we're just here to stand up for him.
I think that's great. I have a question. If we were to put a bench out here, and if the chambers move, will you put up a second bench at the Armory, or just be one bench?
We can discuss that.
No matter what, this building will still be frequented
Okay.
a lot. Even probably more so, because this room would then be transformed into more administrative offices.
Okay.
I feel like.
May I make a suggestion, please?
Sure.
This is Tammy Carter, John Neal's daughter.
Okay.
The plaque could still be made, and if you move, it can be movable. It's movable. The plaque is movable. The bench is, it can be moved as well. But I don't want for yet another council to have to come and make a decision and this get lost. So I would like to consider the plaque being done as well, and if you decide to move chambers, it can go in the new location.
Yeah. And I think too, Kim, and I think too, the bench can be moved.
Yes.
And if it's an issue of expense and you need our family to contribute to that, we have no issue with that at all.
I don't think movement of any of that would be substantial. That's minor.
Yeah. Well, we just wanted to make sure that we can if there's a fiscal impact of any concern, that we could definitely help out with that as well.
So, in the slideshow, pictures that I presented to them, do y'all have a preference in the bench? Would you ladies like to work with me and let me know which bench and what you'd like to have on it, and then we can present it to the committee so that they can see it, or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think what I wrote was that it should be one that, of course, is going to be less maintenance as possible. So
Right.
we want one that is of a material that it doesn't require painting, so maybe like a fiberglass or a vinyl. It's not going to require,
Recyclable.
yeah, it's not going to require painting and maintenance by, by the town at all. I think that's, and it's still sustainable from an environmental standpoint.
I don't think you should shut off your ideas though they make metal powder coated benches nowadays to where they're extremely durable. I just don't want, when you start talking about plastic and stuff like that, with the wear and tear that the public will put on around it,
Okay.
get a metal one, get a good metal one with powder coated, and it'll
Okay.
sustain a lot of wear.
and the front porch is covered, so I think it would keep, weather from it, for the most part.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
the black bench that I sent you is the metal one, and that's one of the benches we're considering here. So, and it is very durable, and you can put a plaque on it, you can put wording on it as well. So, I mean, both Kim and I'll get together with Eric and we'll discuss it and see what we like. But yeah, the metal ones are very durable.
I have one question. So, is the question before the committee whether or not we agree to it or whether or not we're paying for it?
What's the request from the family is what I guess we need, yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
That's what you're,
Number
right,
one,
yeah, I mean,
you
because,
have to agree to it first before we talk about the financial piece.
oh yeah, I mean, see that, I mean,
You
that,
well,
no,
personally, I can tell you, up here, you're not gonna have any, yes.
yeah, because
It's well deserved, it's due.
right, yeah, I don't think
The
we're
only
against
benefit
it,
that I
yeah.
can see that if there was some kind of aid from the family would be that it would actually show, number one, that you guys are still in the community. I like to see that they're still involved in the community.
Well, we have property in Taylor Bottom.
Yep.
We got property off of
Yeah.
Military Highway.
And then it also keeps the request
We're all
that.
property owners in Blackstone.
Yes, we
all
are.
own
Good.
property in Blackstone.
Yep, and then also the main thing, it keeps requests to the minimum, so there's not just everybody
Well,
submitting requests.
In other words, you're saying if we put, everybody's not gonna pay.
Correct,
Everybody's not gonna pay to play.
correct.
Okay, so.
But yeah, the only
And
reason
I'm
why,
not saying that someone may come up, I mean, there may be somebody that Blackstone doesn't know a whole lot about. It
Right.
may be Mr. Blackstone, I don't know. I
right,
mean,
yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to know what the request was. I mean, because, no, I agree.
absolutely.
Yeah, I just didn't know whether the family was asking if we were okay with it, or if the family is
Whether
asking
we
that
need to
we,
approve for
right,
permission to do it, or permission and funds to do
right,
it.
yeah, I mean, because, yeah, naturally, because when we was talking about, when Jennifer asked about y'all picking the bench and the design you want to present to us, yeah, I just wanna know what are you asking from us? Are you asking,
I personally like the bench on here that has pictures and it's got the
I
story.
like that one too.
right, yeah,
I
right,
was looking
yeah,
at that
Instead of just a plaque that
Is
will
that
get,
this one?
yeah, that will get lost.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it's a very worthwhile story and it needs to be known to myself. I mean, if I hadn't been involved in council, I didn't grow up in that age, so
Right,
you
it's
don't know
just
it.
before
Right,
you.
yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice for people to see it and pictures correlate a lot
History.
better.
It's
Right.
history.
It's history.
Recorded history.
Cause I'm not from Blackstone, so
Right.
this is new to me. I'm
That's
like,
right.
wow, this happened
Yeah.
in Blackstone?
Yeah. So when people walk up, they can actually read the story.
right,
Correct.
yeah.
I mean, this was happening, I was born in 1986.
Oh,
So
bro, I know.
it was happening when I was
Well, you-
brag on
a little
that.
baby.
Yeah, you.
So to address the council member, I think our request is that that number one, that the council approve, the memorial
Okay,
for John Neal, and two, it was my understanding that the town would pay for it, but the reason why I said if it becomes a fiscal issue, issue with supplementing the cost, if that's the problem. Cause we don't want that to hold, we don't want that to stop this from moving forward. So that's why we put that out there, that we're willing to supplement the cost if that becomes an issue for not approving it. But if the town is fine with, approving it, hopefully the council's fine with approving it and fine with, appropriating funds for it, then that's the ultimate initial request that we're making to the
Okay.
council.
So I think the first thing that needs to happen, obviously you hear general consensus from us, but you guys need to work with Jennifer and come up with a bench
Right.
and then come back to us at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, just so you ladies know, this is the committee that's meeting tonight, so they only make recommendations to the full council. And I think the committee is in agreement for the bench. I think they're all in agreement for that. And maybe you and I, or all of us work together on what type of bench and come up with pricing, and then
Right.
bring it back to the committee, for the approval of the cost to present to
Then we'll
council.
recommend something to council.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
What
That's
about
fine.
the
How
cost?
often does the council, does the committee meet?
As often as we need to.
They meet by request, so, whenever we get a price together and get a design together and we're ready to present it to the committee, once we're ready, I'll call them, and we have to give usually 3 days notice for a meeting, but, whenever we get it resolved, we can, present it to them at any time.
Okay, so does the committee have another scheduled meeting now, or
No.
they're just gonna wait?
No, ma'am, we don't have any scheduled meetings, we just meet by request for the committee.
Okay.
Okay, and so I have another question. So is the plaque off the table, or would that have to come up at another meeting?
I don't think that's against anybody either. It all just, to be completely honest, it comes down to funds. I mean, we were just talking about a $200,000 roof repair and a $300,000. Now, this is all minor stuff, but we're gonna start with the bench, and I mean, let's go and get pricing for both.
Well, yeah.
That's what I recommend too.
Yeah.
And then come back with both of the information at the next meeting, so we don't have to keep
Okay.
having separate meetings.
Is that good? The plaque and the bench will come up with a price for both?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If you all, what I will ask is if you all have people that you use out that way to let us know so that I can check prices, because I do that kind of stuff here in Loudoun County where I live, and I know quite a few people that do that kind of thing. So if you all could give me people that you work with that's close by that could get that there, that'd be great, and we'll follow through with them ourselves about pricing and see what comes up best, or who we think would be best to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because we want to, promote local businesses.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So anybody who has local that does this kind of stuff, just let us know so that we can get with them and pricing, and we'll, as soon as you get it to me, it will be done.
Okay.
I believe that.
It will be done. I'm not gonna waste any time, so, as soon as you can get it to me, I'll get it done.
Okay, perfect.
Well, thank you guys.
Okay.
No, that was, I'm just gonna listen to the rest of the stuff.
Thank you for the presentation. Very knowledgeable.
Well, and I want to say Eric is there, is Mrs. Paul there too? Tammy Paul?
No, she couldn't make it out. Her pet
I just want to say,
came down with an
I want to say this is Eric's anniversary, and so he made a special trip to the
Yeah.
committee meeting.
Well, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. Gotta take care of the family.
And so he's going to have to come home with some serious presents.
Well, is your wife watching by chance since we're live?
I don't know, we had a sick dog that she had to run to the emergency room.
Well, if you'd like to look into the camera and wish her, and then tell her to watch the video.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies, are y'all good? And we'll just stay in touch and figure out what we're doing?
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate you.
That sounds good to me.
All right, ladies, thank y'all so much for participating with us.
Thank you.
Good night.
You too.
Thank you to the committee as well for listening.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so what?
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other issues before the committee that we need to discuss? Philip said he's done.
Hand her the gavel. Let her
Philip
use the
said
gavel
he's
one
done.
time.
I think she wants to use it.
Yeah,
gavel one time
so
to
I
adjourn
can
the meeting.
officially adjourn this meeting at what, 7:59?
Break it. Break it.
Yes.
Hey!
All right.
Are you trying to break it too?